Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we got another video on the LJ project. We're going to be doing front hydro bumps. So we're going to be getting rid of the factory Johns Bounce bumpers and tubing this with our threaded portions so we can put hydro bumps in. I'm going to be putting in some dual rate springs here. You're going to notice it's a little sketchy right here right now. We got, the high boy lift jack. We drooped out the axle because the lift is being held up with Derek's JL doing some Moab prep, getting 40s and 456 gears and chromoly shafts and all the good stuff. So that one's going to be on there for a couple more days. We're trying to get this one ready for Moab as well. So we're utilizing the warm shop and some sketchy stuff to make it work. So ignore that. You've done sketchier stuff on the trail. Don't lie. But we're going to get this spring out of here. We got to get our spring retainer out, get the spring out. We're going to do a longer shock. We're also going to run the same Trail Tamer 2.0 that we put in the previous video. Or sorry, we put this one in a previous video. We got to go with a little longer because we're going up to about a 5.5. So let's get that spring out of there and then get our shock out. We'll have to get a jack under there, make sure we don't hit the ground with it. And yeah. Let's get that spring out. Make sure you put your fingers in all of the pinch points while you're doing sketchy stuff. So with this being the hydro bump, you guys may not know it, but we do have stackables that work with the stud style. Most of the ones you see are the long bolt thread that goes through with a nut plate underneath, but we'll show you that here later in the video. Rusty problems, I tell ya.
Hey, just cut the tube off.
Yeah, we can do that. So if you guys have watched the series and seen the rear hydro bump video, we're using the same tube. So it's threaded about an inch, roughly, and then it's machined out so that the threads will go past that for adjustability. But same tube in the rear, and then new isolator. This is not currently a product. We've got everything figured out. The new isolators for the kit are on order. We're waiting for those to come in. As soon as they come in, everything will hit the website. So this video may hit before that happens. If you see it, you want them, keep an eye on the website. They'll be there anytime. So yeah, we got those covered. We got that covered. Now we're gonna hack off the stock bump stop tower. So then we can start retrofitting this in, figure out where we want to put it exactly. We'll probably get it tacked in, install our new dual rate that's going in, and then just start test fitting with depth to make sure we have enough adjustability where we finish weld this. Here? Here?
Yeah, sure.
So we have to deburr this because it is a very tight fit. We're going to cut this up a little more because if we left this tube long and we were able to pound this on there, you can see the angle of that. It's going to rub on the spring. So what we're going to end up doing is cutting this up, and we're going to be able to angle this a little bit, and then we'll put our bump stop in before we tack it just to see if we like the angle of it. But we're going to cut this up a little higher. All right, so we got our spring out. This is all cut off, so now we're in our checking phase. So we're gonna get our new bump stop pad on the bottom. So this has a stud because this is the swap truss. Yours may look different. You might have a bolt going through it with a nut plate underneath. And we're gonna install this adapter. That's gonna go over. And then our bump stops will thread into that. So, but this will be a different height. So once we get the bump stop down here on there, then we've got our bump stop threaded in to our tube all the way. So then we will start figuring out at full stuff if we need to cut some tube off, if we need to lower our bump stops. That's how we're gonna dial it in. These are stackable, so we can add to it, subtract to it, whatever we gotta do. So So we did quite a bit off camera here. So just to catch you guys up, so we have our new adapter on there. Our aluminum is going to slide over that. And then we've done some figuring, but essentially we're going to run this as low as possible. So we have just the top cap. We'll throw it in there. So what we're doing with these hydraulic bump stops is we're protecting our shocks, and at full stuff, meaning the front axle being completely loaded all the way up on both sides, we're protecting our pitman arm, our heim joint here, because it would make contact with our tie rod. So we did some clearance stuff. Every setup's going to be a little different. This is a JK axle with a truss and a 1-inch stretch. So we were making contact here, a little bit of grinder clearance, so we're all set there. Now we have our bump stop threaded into our tube here. And just so you guys can see this, we have room. And on top of that, this Schrader valve will be accessible through here. So we don't have any worry there. So what we did is we have the springs out on both sides, and we got a high lift jack in the front pulling the axle apart, and then we're dropping it down onto the axle, simulating full stuff as if we were jumping it, essentially. Most rock crawlers and stuff that we do don't see that situation, but it's a possibility. So we've got this threaded all the way in. We've got our minimum bump stop. We got our tube cut up top. And as you can see, the factory, if you were to go straight on, pushes it forward, which the higher up you go, it's going to make contact with the spring. So what we're going to do is we're going to cheat this back a little bit and center that up here. So we pulled measurements, and with the setup that we have as it sits, full tube, fully threaded in, we have 2 inches of bump stop, and we have 2 5/8 of shock. So essentially we're saving 5/8 worth of shock travel, or losing essentially, but I'm okay with that because I'd rather not use that than blow out a shock and be done for a weekend. But one thing that we are going to do is we're going to cut down the end of our tube here. I don't know exactly how much yet, but what I want is I want to thread this down because there's this much thread in there. The tube is only threaded to here, but the actual hydro bump is threaded all the way up. So I want to have adjustability later. So if I ever drop lift height, I can thread this down or thread it back up. So we're going to cut her down so we have some form of adjustment coming down, plenty going up, so that we can dial it in with the hydro bump itself after this is all welded in. So I think we're just about ready to weld this one in and then get started on the other side. So yeah, stay tuned. So we got the passenger side tacked in. Now we're getting the driver's side in, and then we'll drop the front down so that we can set it where we want it and get this side tacked in. I am holding it more towards the rear so that the rear will clear the spring, but as the spring is in there, this will tip the front of this tip forward a hair. So if we were to put this in, I think I mentioned earlier in the video, at this angle with it up at ride height, this might rub on the spring. So we're actually going to tack it in. I know it's hard to see with my hand there, but we're going to favor it towards the rear, make sure the spring's going to clear here, and it doesn't matter where it lands on the pad as long as that tip is making full contact, it's fine. So we're going to drop this down here, use our ratchet strap if we have to pull it back where we want it, and then tack this sucker in. So trying to get a shot of why we held the bump stop to the rear when we tack this on is the higher you go, the farther it's going to point forward and potentially make contact with the spring. The springs I'm putting in are dual rates, so I don't really have that worry because at full droop right now, our unseated spring is sitting somewhere in here. So hopefully that'll keep the front of the spring over and away from the tip. But that's the reason why we kind of held it to the rear.
Ooh, that's pretty. What are you painting that with?
Tractor paint. Camera guy's favorite.
She thinks my tractor's sexy.
You're gonna be in the video.
We don't have to find a clip now. We got Derek. Oh, hey guys. So we're painted up. We got our upper isolator on. We got our jam nut tight. Right now the axle is at full stuff on both sides. We have 1 inch of shock because we're having issues with clearance in a few other spots, and realistically I have 5.5 inches of up travel, which is a lot, so I'm not too worried about bringing that down. So we're going to drop this shock, flex it out, get our new dual rate in, and then we can get our 37s bolted on and one step closer to Moab ready. All right, we're all done. Everything's painted up. Looks kind of nasty because we went a little excessive with the anti-seize, but I'd rather have anti-seize on everything than fight it later if I have to make adjustments. So everything's dialed in for our up travel with our stackable bump stops. These are prototype springs, so that's not normal for everybody else, but not too bad of an install. It was definitely a lot more time consuming getting everything dialed in. So like cutting off the tube and welding on the new bump stop tube, not a big deal, but up, down, flexing it in and out, that's where it was time consuming. So we're good to go there. We're all said and done with this project. We're one step closer to being ready for Moab with this. So if you guys have any questions, drop a comment, give me a call. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you guys at the next video.